Yes. All right, if we get everybody's attention, we're going to get the program officially going. All right, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Steve Eck, and I am the current president of the Greenwave Hall of Fame. And my job is to give Randy a 1-minute break to use the restroom. So here you go. Now, first of all, could we have a round of applause for the quarterback club and that great meal that you guys just had? Also, the young men that are walking around, they are from the boys basketball team at the high school. So give them a round of applause. We appreciate them coming over. Someone told me they haven't spilled anything yet, so that's good. And then we'd also just like to thank the City of Fallon and the crew at the Convention Center for all their help for setting this up. So. All right, so tonight is all about the inductees and the family and friends that are here. We don't like to talk a lot about the committee, but there's a couple things I wanted to mention tonight about the Hall of Fame committee. Back in 2017, we inducted our first class, and that was a couple-year process. So we started getting this going back in about 2015. I was not the president back then, and so there were other people that were forces behind it, but we finally got the first class inducted in 2017, learned from that process. We had 2018, and we had a class in 2019, and we were starting to feel pretty confident, and then COVID came. And COVID has been an awful thing, and you know, the troubles that we had on the committee were just minuscule compared to other issues that people have had during the COVID pandemic. So you know, our things were pretty minor, but it's been kind of a funny couple of years. We couldn't find a place to meet because everywhere was closed, and so we tried a Zoom meet. And when I introduce everybody here in a minute, you'll see our demographic is from that era that's not always technically savvy. Some of us, I guess. So anyway, so we tried a Zoom meet one time, and there were a couple that spent the whole time just trying to get on. Then the meeting was over, and so we finally met in my backyard for a few months, just trying to find a place to be. And then, you know, we inducted a class, and we were excited, and then we canceled it. Things are going on. We didn't know what to do. We ended up canceling. We thought we'd reschedule. Couldn't reschedule. Inducted another, had another class that we chose. And then we were going to do it again last year. We were excited, and then we had to cancel. And so I know some of you out there have been waiting a tremendously long time. And I'm going to guess that some of you are really good friends with some of the committee members who have probably called you like 50 times over the last several months, telling you things are canceled, things are on. So anyway, the committee has just been tremendous. The reason I am president right now is because I was the guy that they looked around and said, he's got nothing to do, let's give him a job. And so it's still that way. I just watch everybody else do everything. And so it's been a very trying couple of years for everybody in all aspects of life, but especially for our committee. So a little bit of applause to them down here, but I just like, if they're in the room, our committee members to stand up. Steve Ranson is our vice president. He's running around with a camera usually. There he is. Julie Richards is our secretary, right there. Julie Gilmore is our treasurer. And then Larry couldn't make it, right? Larry Barker could not make it tonight. Randy Beakley is meeting. Casey Chu is afraid to stand up. Trudy Dahl there. Angela Braga. Edna Deanda. Back there, stand back there. John Jerickson. John even moved out of town and he still helps us, so that's awesome. Is Carrie, can you have her dance here tonight? I think she's here tonight. Sherry Jensen Dave Loomis, I don't think is here tonight either. He didn't make it. Judy Pratt, she'll hold still on that. And Thomas Ranson also could not make it tonight. So anyway, that's our current committee, and I just want to thank them because none of this would have happened without them, and it's been a trying couple of years. And we are super, super excited to finally be here and able to do this. So welcome everybody here. We appreciate you, and we're looking forward to having a great night. All right, so I'm going to reintroduce or introduce, even though he's been up here all night, our master of ceremonies, Randy Bigley. If you look in your book there, you'll see there's a big old long bio. I'm not going to go through that whole thing because we'd be here all night, but he was in our first Hall of Fame group that we inducted. He was the quarterback for the 1976 football team that went undefeated. So that was pretty awesome. I was really young when he played. I remember Randy playing, and he was awesome. If you're ever in a golf tournament, he's the guy you do not want to have to play against. Anyway, you can still hear him on the radio. He does the play-by-play with Larry Barker, the color commentary. So still super active and a great guy. So our MC for tonight, Randy Bigley.
Thank you, Steve Hackett. Don't let him kid you. That guy does a lot of work. He really helps keep us organized and on the line. And so it really makes us efficient. It makes all that much better. So, let's see here. Fallon has a tradition that spans over a century, and aside from the regional and state recognition, for years there is no way to recognize these standouts. 7 or 8 years ago, spearheaded by Paula Wrong and Paula Wrong, the Hall of Fame went from a dream to an actual reality. So we're excited to be here to induct the latest classes of inductees. A special thank you goes out to all those who submitted nominations and those who served on our selection committee. This is truly a great class of inductees for 2020 and 2021. Nomination forms can be found on our website at www.greenwavehof.com and are accepted year-round. There are also cards on your table with the QR code and the link that will take you to the site with more information. The deadline for next year's class is April 30th. Since the last induction ceremony in 2019, Greenwave Hall of Fame has lost 2 committee members. Jack Beach, who was inducted in 2017 after a memorable career as an athlete, coach, and administrator, passed away in June of 2021. And Paula Wrong, whose dream of creating a Hall of Fame was brought to life 5 years ago, passed in February of 2022. Would you please join me in a moment of silence as we recognize Jack and Paul and all those Greenwave Hall of Fame inductees who have passed on, along with any other of our Greenwave family who have passed. Thank you. I'd like to recognize some very special people. Please hold your applause until after I'm finished announcing each group. I would like to recognize the Greenwave Hall of Fame Research Committee. Dave Loomis, Mary Bunny Corkill, Nancy Sanders Stewart, and Yvonne Arsenega Sutherland. I would also like to thank my wife, Kimberly, for being here and helping out. She's a real workhorse, let me tell you. I would also like to recognize Donnie Nelson, who could not be here tonight, and the Nevada Interscholastic Activities Association for their continued guidance. The Greenwave Quarterback Club and their cook tonight, Mark Williams. Alicia Hill of Alicia's Designs, Fallon Chamber of Commerce, Churchill County School District, the City of Fallon, And a special kudos to Candy Dolan, the Lahan Valley News, and Jeff's Digitex and Copy Express. I would also like to introduce a few people, community members here this evening. When I call your name, if you could please stand so we can acknowledge you, that'd be fantastic. Mayor Ken Tedford. Councilwoman Kelly Frost. And CCHS Athletic Director Joe Wood. Finally, we would like to have any past Hall of Fame inductees who are present tonight to please stand up so we can recognize you. So I'm really honored to introduce you to the next person that's going to come take over the microphone. I've known this person since I was about 5 or 6 years old, and she was an amazing athlete. I mean, I have stories, we'd be here all night if I told you, but she simply was amazing. A great person, super athlete. I'm getting chills just talking about her. This year's guest speaker is Greenwave and University of Nevada, Reno Hall of Fame athlete, Ellen Townsend. A little here about Ellen. Not only did Ellen excel in athletics, but she was also an academic leader during her years attending Churchill County High School in the early to mid 1970s. She graduated in 1975 and then headed west to attend the University of Nevada. Considered one of the best female athletes during that time, Ellen was a state field champion and record holder in the softball throw. Additionally, she set state records in the shot put and discus in her senior year. Ellen was on the 1975 AA Girls Golf Champion team and later named Athlete of the Decade in 1981. She was involved with the Girls Athletic Association and Student Council and was also the salutatorian of her 1975 class. Ellen also became the first female athlete inducted into the Nevada Athletics Hall of Fame in 2019, where she played collegiate volleyball, softball, and women's basketball from the mid to late 70s. Ellen helped lead the Wolfpack to 3 NCIAC titles in 1976 and 77 in volleyball, women's basketball, and softball. Would you please join me in welcoming 2017 Greenwave Hall of Fame member Ellen Townsend.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm really just so honored and humbled to be standing here talking to all of you tonight. What an outstanding, remarkable group of inductees that are here, friends and guests. Tonight, inductees encompass, I'm going to say at this point, about 100 years worth of Churchill County High School Greenwave athletic accomplishments and achievements. As Randy alluded to, and so did Steve, it's been 2 years since any waves have really hit the Hall of Fame, and here we are. A huge thank you to all the Hall of Fame committee for inviting me to speak here tonight, and thanks for the call, Julie Gilmore. A little extra shout out to Sherry Jensen and to Steve Peck for aiding me today and last week in getting this presentation set up. So you're going to get a little bit of history and mingled with some storytelling based on my memories and research. So there's some fact to it, okay?
Lies.
In the end, I'm going to give you a mission at the end. I grew up playing every sport imaginable. There was football, baseball, basketball, swimming, bowling, bike riding, tennis, AAU track and field. My attempt at skiing went horribly wrong, sending me to the hospital and months in a full leg cast. I learned to throw at an early age, 4 or 5 years old, playing catch with my dad, my sister, and friends. And I'm a little bit embarrassed to say, by throwing rocks at cars traveling down Center Street. Improvement on accuracy and distance is what that gave me. Eventually, I put on a glove and traded in rocks for baseballs and later softballs. Before 1972, kind of the pre-Title IX era, young girls like me were left to find ways to play sports, usually with sisters and brothers or the neighborhood kids. Organized athletics for girls were non-existent. I wore boys' tennis shoes and was often ridiculed and called names for playing sports. Good thing I had support from family and friends who knew how fun it was to play sports. Girls in high school generally experienced sports through PE. They had PE classes or maybe participating in GAA. Women in college had extremely limited opportunities to play. Girls living in the Midwest or the South and even in the eastern part of the United States had a lot more opportunities to play sports when compared to the western part of the United States. And that's where we are. Very little or no sports programs were provided for girls or women. As a kid, I hung out after school or on weekends with the neighborhood gang who gathered together to play football on the front lawn of the old high school. Or we would sneak into the gym through the bathroom window if it was left open. Or we'd gather at West End, maybe play basketball, occasionally playing baseball on the gravel ball fields. Gotta be tough to do that. I tagged along to Little League practices where Bob Whitney and Charlie Driver coached their sons, Rob Whitney and Chuck and Donnie Driver, wishing I could play, but being told girls do not play Little League. One practice, Bob and Charlie let me get into the batter's box to face Charlie, who had quite a fastball. I fouled one of those pitches off, and then I hit the next one to right field. Oh man, what an amazing feeling that was. Little did anyone know exactly how thrilled I was just to get that opportunity. What a boost it gave me as an athlete. Okay, back to the gang at West End. There was this British song that came out entitled West End Girls. I don't know if you remember that or not. Maybe you do. So every time I hear this song, I think of my West End boys. Or at least that's how I referred to them. Bob King, Duke Allison, Rick Hallam, Greg Deal, Dale Catlett, Walter Weaver, Mark Lister, Rob Whitney, Randy Beagley, Ron Deal, and Charlie Arsenaga. And I'm sure there were others I'm forgetting. And even sometimes Pam King would join us on the courts for basketball. We congregated at West End every chance we had, mainly for basketball. Rain, snow, sleet, whatever, we were there. When these guys went on to play in high school, our after-school meetings dwindled and eventually faded away. I tried out for basketball, JV basketball, as a sophomore, and then again as a junior. This is boys basketball. There still was no basketball team for girls. I remember Rodney Hyde, who was a senior on the varsity, said that he heard I was going to try out, and he offered me some words of encouragement. I didn't make the team and could have lived with the results until I found out that a classmate who had not been at tryouts all week made the team. What a kick in the stomach. Ugh. So after being cut my junior year, Coach Mark Winans allowed me to practice with the JV team. I'm so appreciative of the chance to try out and practice with that team. So during that time, this hit the paper. Of course, this was the second year I tried out. So it was just a little bit about, who's trying out and what's going on. Later, Winans talked me into going out for the golf team that next fall as a senior. I think he coached that year, and then the next year he was coaching. What a fantastic opportunity that was. Had him pushing me along to do that. with amazing results, a state championship. So there we are. There I am. I think you can spot where I am. In case you can't, I'm right there. Okay. Here's Winans. Awesome. Okay. And there's Rick, one of the West End boys. Okay. So this was the team before he convinced me to go out. All right. And I think Winans was coaching then. And here was our state championship team, which I'm sure you're going to hear about later. And there we are kind of hanging out. And then the following year, here's the 1975 golf team. And I think they placed second at state. Okay, we got Terry Mackinnon over here. Whoops. Right there. Okay. All right. Pretty interesting. Okay, now sometime after our track championship in 1974, and when the golf season took place, myself, Pat Regan, Sherry Jensen, and I know there's others, we banded together, wrote some bylaws or a constitution or some sort of document, whatever you want to call it back then. We wanted to create a girls' block F. Only boys were in block F. And from my research, cheerleaders were permitted, most likely because they supported the boys' teams. Anyway, we put together this package to create a girls' block F. And somehow, Coach Klanakis, the advisor for block F, he got wind of this. You know, what we were doing, he met with us, and guess what? The block F charter was amended to allow girls. We were in block F. Yeah. During my first year of high school, this is back, you know, everything's 10, 11, 12 in high school, so 10th grade, the All-American Redheads came to town to play the teachers and coaches in a fundraiser. And because they were women playing my favorite sport, basketball, there was no way I was not going to miss this game. I was going. I was in awe of their basketball talent. The best player, right here, Karen Logan, she could dribble like Curly Neal of the Harlem Globetrotters. Amazing athlete. I could not get enough of that game, watching them. I think the guy sitting in the bleachers in front of me grew tired of me snooping over his shoulder. He finally handed me the program. Oh my gosh, what was in that program changed my life. This team of redheads was putting on a basketball camp called Camp Courage. I went home, showed my mom the flyer. Camp cost $75 for 5 days. I convinced her I had to go to this camp. I pleaded. She conceded. A big note there, this camp was in Holly Springs, Mississippi. 2,100 miles from Fallon. Located in a national forest. How to get there? Well, Mrs. Norris and Mrs. Cunningham, two teachers, were headed to Arkansas. Going to visit family. I could ride with them to Arkansas and catch the bus to Holly Springs. We got as far as Flagstaff, and I learned from a call home that the camp wasn't finished. So I caught a Greyhound bus in Flagstaff and headed back to Fallon. What an exciting, fun bus ride. Okay, a few weeks later, off I was. Again, on my trip, alone, on a bus, for 2.5 days. Of course, 2.5 days back, right? Campers, there's a few campers you can, well, in case you can't, that's me. And that's me. So there's our camp. And back there's our little, we got some little log cabins. There were like 4 to 6 in a cabin. There was a mess hall, a tennis court, a makeshift softball field, a swimming pool, and basketball courts with lights for night sessions. We had 2 to 3 court sessions, depending on the rain. After all, it was like August in Mississippi, humid. I think I was wet the whole time, right? We also had a classroom session every day. Time was set aside to use the swimming pool. Becky Nosler, that's her right there. Becky Nosler and I broke the camp record for treading water that summer. 4+ hours or something like that. But not before a huge snake was extracted from the pool. They wouldn't let us in until the snake was taken out. I met so many girls from all over the country, girls with the same passion I had for basketball. You know, anyone playing sports can relate to that feeling when excitement, emotion, and desire take over your mind and your body. So this experience, going to camp, gave me hope that I had a basketball future and would someday play on a girls' team. What an impact and influence these friends. Ironically, Sue Ellis and her teammates from Kansas, Marcia Tate from Black Rock, Arkansas, Becky Nosler from Tennessee, Lynette and Linnea Shoquist from Minnesota, who are these two twins. I think they're 6'3". There were some other fantastic counselors, which end up being a lot of these people here. They just had a great influence on my life. I returned to camp the next summer, saving money to fly, enough with the bus, and again had a memorable experience. On the drive to the airport, Mr. Moore, who owned the Redheads, asked if I wanted to play professional basketball for them. I thanked him, but told him I was headed off to college. About 10 years ago, September 7th, 2012, 65 surviving Redheads were inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, including 3 of my camp friends. 2 of them are up there. And the third one, she's not in one of those pictures. You know, I can still see my mom waving goodbye as I looked out the bus window. Just imagine that, your 15-year-old daughter going on a bus. It wasn't until years later I realized that my mom was probably scared to death to let her 15-year-old daughter travel alone, thousands of miles on a bus across country. No cell phones, remember. I think I called home once. I'm here, and that was about it. Okay. You know, after all, this was like the early 70s, not far removed from social movements around civil rights and opposition to the Vietnam War and feminism. Speaking of social movements, June 1972, Title IX was passed and forever changed the educational and sporting environment for girls and women. You know, many of you have probably heard of Title IX, but do not, really know what the law says or what impact Title IX has had on millions of girls and women since inception. Fewer than 300,000 females competed in athletics prior to Title IX, like 1971, 72. Today, more than 3.5 million females compete in 25 plus sports nationwide. This past June marked the 25th anniversary, this past June marked the 50th anniversary of Title IX, in which no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal assistance. The passage of Title IX in 1972 did not result in immediate equitable opportunities for girls and women. It wasn't until 1975 when regulations were issued requiring high school athletics to comply within 3 years. That's like 1978. That's when change really started to kind of take off. Enforcement of Title IX continues to this day. Here's a couple more statistics for you if you want to kind of look at them. But I think most important is on the right. More women are attending college and earning degrees than ever before. For example, when Title IX was signed in 1972, women earned just 7% of law degrees and 9% of medical degrees. And now they earn nearly half of all law and medical degrees. Women's participation in a career in technical education, those programs, it has increased from close to 0 in 1972 to over 25% nationally. This is awesome. And women have gained as university faculty members. Just a few stats for you. There were a couple movements happening in the softball community here prior to Title IX and continued on for years afterwards. Once the arrival of Miss Softball America, one was the arrival of Miss Softball America. And I don't know if you can see a lot of the sponsors or the people that were there. We have, some different some sponsors, and then a lot of those are just, you know, the parent who is coaching that team. This organization received tremendous support from local businessmen and businesswomen. It was a tremendous turnout for Miss Softball America. Got a few more pictures of them. And I had to throw this in. There's Kelly Smith Frost, Minnie Blair champion, right there. 6th grade, a little while ago. There's Kelly again. But you know, you have Stacy Montooth, Jill Downs, you know, Debbie Geis, Kay Rogers. I won't read them all. Kelly Cunningham. Then the coaches who put in a lot of time. There's Elaine Hendricks Adams in the back, my sister. I got Wendy Merling, Ella Johnston, Peggy Pierce, got Jay Johnston, manager. Softball still had not arrived for girls in high school. It wasn't until February 28, 1979, when Elaine Hendricks approached high school administrators and the superintendent, who basically gave Elaine the runaround. This ultimately came to a halt when the school board stepped in. The high school finally fielded a softball team. According to the LVN, senior Elaine Hendricks told school board members on February 22nd that girls were not receiving cooperation from school administrators in setting up a girls softball program. During the 1979-80 school year, the NIAA established softball as a sanctioned sport. And you all know where softball has gone in this community since that time. Some awesome teams and great champions. Another movement taking place involved the establishment of women's fast pitch softball league here in town. High school age girls played on teams with women of all ages. My mother played, but only if we really needed her. There was also Peggy Ogden, Danelle Dodge, Georgianne Melende, Joan Downs, Muriel I, Mary Lou Dolan, Jeannie Cunningham, Karen Taylor, Norma Whitney, Ellie Rice, just to name a few. And you can see some of the other names that are up there. You know, when we started playing, we first started playing softball in the arena at the old rodeo grounds, which of course is non-existent. We set up a diamond at one end of the arena. Wasn't the smoothest infield, even after we, you know, put a drag on it. If you can, you know what the arena looks like. We played tournaments in Yerington and locally, and had a big game against the men at the North Main Ballpark. Eventually, we moved to the softball fields at Miss Softball America. So this was our victory picture after we beat the men 4-2. Yeah. Pretty good game. We're all wearing jeans and a t-shirt. That's pretty much our outfit. Okay, quite different than now. Lastly, there was the women's city basketball. That was going on too. It provided those of us in high school with more opportunities to play. We were a combination of teens, young adults, and women of all ages. I got a few more pictures here of softball teams though. Okay, if you can pick out people, you know, there's Danelle Dodge, got Pam DeMars, Peggy Shepard, okay, quite a few people there. There's Peggy taking a big swing. Got Georgianne Melende, you know, Patty Tidwell, Karen Cromwell, I know she's here, Arlene Hirschman, Ellen Wolpert, Karen Norkett, quite a few people there. Okay, here's Arlene, here's Karen. Okay, a few more. Here's Julie Gilmore, Trisha, Carla, Ava, Liz, Peggy, Madeline, Pam Huckey, Pam Taylor, Jeannie Cunningham, Steve's the coach, and there's my sister Brenda. Boy, we really look young, don't we? and another team here. There's Joan in the background, and there's some other players up there. Okay. So I was talking about basketball. The basketball provided us with lots of opportunities. We were a combination of teens and young adults and women of all ages. And again, here's a picture of Marge's yarn. Judy, your mom. We got Terry Blazer. Whoops. Terry Blazer, myself, Jeannie Cunningham, Emma Duffney, Kathy Osugi, Tommy Ann Martin, Bonnie Hicks, and Caroline Melly Lee right back here. Okay. Quite an age difference there on all of us. You notice the dates on a lot of these pictures are like 1974 to 80. So this is, about 8 years removed from Title IX, but still, we still don't have sports. Here's another picture or so. There's we had some good sponsors back then: Carnation, Marge's, Frontier. Here's our senior girls basketball team. Had to point out Coach Jim McAdin back there because it's kind of dark on there. So they're back there. This is when we were a senior, and when we were a junior, Mark Winans was our coach. So some early years there. Two fantastic contributors to girls sports, Jim and Mark. And there's a couple others tonight, Bert and George, that are going to be honored as well. Here's a huge victory, 54 to 8 back in 1975. Carla, awesome form. There's Carla. Okay. I think she's, your hands are right on the ball, so it looks good. Eventually my dream of playing basketball and softball with other impassioned women came to fruition. I competed in Nevada in volleyball, basketball, softball, often competing for regional and national championships during the AIAW era. This is before NCAA took over. We had very limited resources for uniforms, meals, and travel. We were riding in cars or vans. Often we were driving. When we did get new uniforms, they had a dual purpose. They were basketball and softball uniforms. We had limited access to facilities, practice times, and the coaching staffs were pretty small. In 1980, I was extended a tryout with the Chicago Hustle of the Women's Basketball League. Didn't make it, but a great opportunity. And then 3 years ago, I was fortunate and honored when I learned I would be inducted into the University of Nevada's Hall of Fame, along with 3 other teammates that I played sports with. Never in my wildest dreams that I think that would ever happen, honestly. I've had so many role models and influencers in my life. The biggest, of course, was my mother. She always stepped in to play on our softball team when we needed players, or when we needed to play catch. Broke her hand once. She didn't know it for like 5 years. But she was an athlete in her own day. Basketball, badminton, and swimming were her passions. She made sure my sisters, Brenda and Cheryl, both outstanding athletes in their own, that we were all involved in sports. And she stepped up even as Cheryl's softball coach in Miss Softball America. My attempt to connect history and storytelling is kind of ended. But I have a final thought to share with you, kind of a request. See what I have after this, I forgot. I mentioned Caroline Melly Lee earlier. I found this little clipping and I thought it was pretty cool. All-around cowgirl title in Carson at the Carson High School Rodeo, winning first breakaway roping, first in pole bending, and fourth in the barrel race. So pretty impressive. And I know she didn't have any chance to play sports in high school, but we played basketball and softball together. So I have one little final thought to share with you. It's kind of a request. Many young women didn't have opportunities to play. Sisters, aunts, mothers, grandmothers. Women played an influential role in encouraging young girls and boys to participate in sports. How do we give them their due? How do we show them our appreciation for that inspiration and support they showed us? There's those people out there that never will be recognized for their contributions, in a public setting of any sort. Like Title IX just didn't happen. There were folks pushing for this type of legislation for years before Title IX was passed. And then there's others that continue to this day to champion for women and girls. So I charge each of you to seek out and acknowledge those women in your life. Get them to share their sports memories and dreams they may have had. Get them to reveal their stories. Recognize their influence in your life. Seek out women in your lives and get them to tell you their history, their story. Kind of complete the circle. Thank you for being here tonight and giving me time to share some of my memories. I hope you felt a connection. After all, we are Greenwave.
Thank you, Ellen, so much for that story and the speech and the education. Inspiring, totally inspiring. Thank you so much. I don't know if I can top that. That was pretty amazing. So it's time to get on with the show, and we'll start with the class of 2020 and then move on to the class of 2021. Each inductee will be introduced alphabetically, and we'll begin with teams, followed by coaches, contributors, and athletes. Each inductee will come up to the stage after I finish reading about your contributions to Greenwave Athletics. We would ask audience members to wait until I finish reading the inductees' contributions to give your respectful applause. Inductees, please come up on the stage on my left to receive your plaque, and then Alicia Hill will take your photo. Inductees will not need to speak, as we've got quite a few to get through tonight. You may also refer to your banquet program to read more about the inductees. So we'll start with the class of 2020, and we'll start with the teams. Our first team tonight to be recognized is the 1923 football team. Noble Waite, who was the coach, led Fallon's football program to the first of 8 school football championships, including a trio in the 1970s and a pair in this last decade. With 4 returning lettermen and 7 with experience, Waite had his work cut out with 20 players new to the program. In their first game of the season on October 6th, Fallon posted, get this, a 102-0 victory over Gardnerville, with the team looking like all gold and a mile wide, according to the school's yearbook. Fallon tied Lovelock before defeating Sparks and Reno, and after shutting out Gardnerville again, 60-0, Fallon shut out Sparks 14-0 and Carson 13-0 to win the school's first state title. Team members include Coach Waite and players Vaughn, Ferguson, Ellison, Bailey, Allen, Nelson, York, Beagley, Height, Branch, Galbraith, Ferguson, Osgood, Rudder, Nelson, Lagaza, Whiteman, Ernst, and Ford. Will you please welcome to the stage Ray Ferguson, accepting for his grandfather Paul Ferguson, Marvin Ferguson, accepting for his uncle Dempsey Ferguson, and Janice Howard, accepting for her uncle Lyle Bigley. And if there's anyone else here representing the 1923 football team, you may please come forward as well. Our next team to be inducted is the 1929 football team. No football 29 football team. No football team was as dominant as Fallon at the end of the 1920s. Fallon finished the season with a 7-0-1 record, including a 12-0 victory over Las Vegas to win the state championship. Fallon's defense was staunch, allowing only 7 points in a 12-point win over Yerington and 6 in a 30-point opening season victory over Virginia City. Fallon's lone non-win game came in a 0-0 tie against Lovelock in the third game of the season. The two-headed monster of Harry Bradley and Kern Bradley led the way for the running game, and Harvey Hill was known to break free for 75-plus yard gains. Wendell Beagley was the team's quarterback, and Whitey Lawson coached the green and white using a variation of the Notre Dame shift. Team members include Coach Justice Lawson and players Dunsmore, Kinney, Harrigan, McDonald, Edwards, York, Justice, Sloan, Bafford, Grunberg, Hill, Clayton, Waldron, Gott, Rice, Wainscott, Osgood, Beagley, Perrier, Bradley, Kinney, and Frey. Will you please welcome to the stage Judy Deluge, accepting for Charlie Frey, and Janice Howard, accepting for her father, her uncle, Lyle Beagley. And if there's anyone else here representing the 1929 football team, you may come forward as well. Next, we have the 1957 and 1958 baseball teams, coached by the late Elmo DeRico and the late Ron Engel. The teams captured the school's first baseball state championship after back-to-back seasons, finishing second. With a 10-0 record during league play under DeRico, who was assisted by Ed Arcenega, Fallon swept the Henderson High School in a best-of-3 series during a decade when there was no classification separating schools based on size. 10 of the 19 players continued the following season under Engel to win the 1958 state championship, which also defeated Henderson. Most of the state champion players were also on Fallon's first ever Little League team, which was formed earlier in the decade. Members of the 1957 baseball team include coaches Elmo DeRico and Ed Arcenega, players Bub Weaver, Connie Anderson, Martin Somerville, Val York, Bob Downs, Phil Bailey, Dave Loomis, Gerald Bowden, Frank Giusti, Leland Cooper, John Brown, John Huckabee, Dick Graham, Manuel Munoz, Calvin Dunlap, Tom Wood, Gary Werner, Dallas Ramsey, and Stanley Barkley. We're going to start with the 57 team first, and then we'll follow up with the 58 team here in a few minutes. Will you please come to the stage, members and representatives from the 57 state championship baseball team, and accepting for Elmo DeRico is his son Todd DeRico, accepting for Ed Arcenega is his son Charlie Arcenega, accepting for Dave Loomis is Sherry Jensen, accepting for Gerald Bowden is Kimberly Brust, and accepting for John Brown is Deanna Brown. And if there's anyone else representing the 1957 baseball team, you may please come forward as well. Okay, so a little note here. On the back of these plaques, which all the inductees are receiving, they have a lifetime pass to all Greenwave athletic sporting events during the season for life. So nice little gift there.
I know.
And now we'd like to recognize the 1958 baseball team, and I'm sure there's a few of those guys that will be back up here. Members of that team include coaches Elmo Dorico and Ron Engel, team members Ralph Thomas, Ron Biggs, Junior Rogers, Barry Miller, Mike Manning, Martin Somerville, Frank Giusti, John Brown, Dick Keller, Pete Levitt, Manuel Munoz, Dick Graham, Tom Woods, Calvin Dunlap, Paul Loomis, John Huckabee, and Dwight Wyant. Will you please welcome to the stage members and representatives from the 1958 state championship baseball team. And if there's anyone else here to representing the team, please come forward. The next team, coached by the University of Nevada and Greenwave Hall of Famer Bert Serrano, is the 1974 gymnastics team, which included several recognized all-around gymnasts and won the Nevada Class III championship. Lisa Sexton was named the first all-around gymnast as she competed in the free exercise, balance beam, uneven parallel bars, and vault before competing at the University of Nevada. Kathy Whitney, who was named number 2 all-around, specialized on balance beam and the free exercise, and she returned in 1978 to coach the final gymnastics club. Linda Daniels was named the number 3 all-around, and she specialized on uneven parallel bars, the vault, and beam. Becky Paul was number 4 all-around, specialized on uneven parallel bars and vault, while Becky Garrison was an honorable mention who specialized on the balance beam. Team members include Coach Bert Serrano and athletes Carol Hall, Ann Nygren, Linda Daniels, Trudy Dodge, Becky Paul, Brenda Cox, Janelle Dory, Kelly Reese, Christy Hallmark, Kathy Whitney, Melissa Watson, Faye Tanksley, Kathy Hyde, Ruth Corkill, Teresa Atkinson, Lisa Sexton, Becky Garrison, Mary Buffington, and Melanie Kilpatrick. Would you please welcome to the stage members from the 1974 State Championship Gymnastics Team.
Cartwheel. Or get it right, yeah. All one do that, all one do that, right? Always.
And coach.
Can I do a cartwheel?
Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, come on.
No cartwheels. What a coach.
He was.
Our next teams to be inducted are the 1977 and 1978 baseball teams. The 1970s is one of the best decades in Greenwave athletics for winning state championships. The Fallon baseball team led the school with 4 of its 11 NIAA state championships and ended the decade with back-to-back AA titles over Elko and Boulder City, respectively. In 1977, Jack Beach's Greenwave defeated Elko in the third and final game of the series, winning 8-3 to win their third title of the decade. The 1978 team, also coached by Beach, knocked off Elko in the regional championship 1-0 on a suicide squeeze in the bottom of the final inning. The Greenwave scored on a wild pitch with 2 outs in the last inning of Game 3 to defeat Boulder City 3-2 to win the program's 8th state title. Team members include Coach Jack Beach, players Randy Jacobson, Kirk Ellis, Robbie Whitney, Tim Kincaid, Rocky Allen, Dave Loft, Rex Albisu, Wade Gitamasi, Donnie Driver, Vern Austin, Kevin Baldwin, Lawrence Evans, Mike Chattel, Paul Gormley, Sam Alice, and Dave Davis. Accepting for Jack Beach will be his daughter, Casey Chu. We're going to start with just the 77 team, and we'll follow up with the 78 team here in a few minutes. So we please welcome to the stage members and representatives from the 1977 State Championship Baseball Team.
She looks just
Little guy in the front. Little guy in the front.
Randy, Norma's here for Robbie.
Come on up.
Yeah.
Norma Whitney here for Rob Whitney.
Come on,
Rex. Come on, Rex.
Yeah, you guys stay down in front.
Great job, guys. And now we'd like to recognize the 1978 baseball team. There already half of them are up here. Team members again include Coach Jack Beach and members Robbie Whitney, Ted Cheney, Randy Jacobson, Kurt Ellis, Wade DiDamasi, Lawrence Evans, Sam Alice, Matt Bondi, Dave Loft, Marty Cooper, Paul Gormley, Lyle Hagan, Mark Ugaldi, Vern Austin, Jerry Lamas, Brian Harmon, and Annalisa Ugaldi. Will you please welcome to the stage members and representatives from the 1978 State Championship Baseball Team.
I'm not gonna be the little guy down.
And now we're going to move on to one of our coaches inductees here. The first coach to be recognized this evening is George Huckey. A teacher of history and physical education, Huckey began coaching in 1973 when he helmed the junior varsity football team for 10 years. He assisted Earl Wilkins with the wrestling team for 9 years when Fallon produced several outstanding wrestlers. Huckey's big break came in the spring with the girls' track and field program when he led the Lady Wave to back-to-back state championships. The first ever girls sports NIAA titles for team after the Title IX was passed in 1972 and prohibited discrimination on the basis of sex. Huckey had one of the largest teams in girls track with 75 students competing, as Fallon won state titles in 1974 and 1975 and was the runner-up in 1976. His 1983 team finished second in the regional meet before he retired from coaching. Please welcome to the stage, George Hawkins. Our next inductee is a contributor. And the next, our first contributor to honor is Don Baranchia. One of the early voices of the Greenwave, Baranchia was the school's public address announcer for the football team for 32 years and the baseball team during the 1970s when the Greenwave played at the North Main Street Ballpark. On the radio, he was the color commentator for the football team's away games from 1973 to 1999. Baranchia, who played football, basketball, and baseball at Fallon, also coached the American Legion baseball teams during the summers of the 1960s, with his team winning the state championship in 1964. He was also the Kiwanis Club president for 2 years at South Lake Tahoe and 2 years in Fallon. Will you please welcome to the stage, Don Baranchia. Our next contributor is Jay Corkill. The Fallon native attended Churchill County High School, but finished his education homeschooled because of the competitive rodeo competition interfering with the school schedule. Competing as an independent, Corkill won 3 state rodeo titles as a team and calf roper before competing at the Feather River Junior College. He was named to the Wrangler High School All-Star Rodeo team in 2005 before turning to the professional circuit when he was named the PRCA Rookie of the Year in 2006. Corkill has won 4 world titles in team roping, heeling, with his most recent coming in 2016 under the Elite Rodeo Association. Will you please welcome to the stage Buddy Corkill for Jay Corkill. All right, our next contributor is William Bill Deal. This is an emotional one too for me as well. After moving to Fallon in 1953, Deal taught at Oaks Park School before switching into the insurance and real estate business. Outside the office, though, Deal was actively involved in the community, being an avid booster for Churchill County High School and the University of Nevada Athletics. Deal, who was the Nevada's boxing team's manager, also founded the Fallon Little League football program and organized the first ever Fallon Football Awards banquet. Deal could be seen working the chain crew at all the home football games before retiring and moving to Arizona. He passed away last November. Will you please welcome to the stage Bill Deal's daughter, Karen Bennett Deal. Our first individual athlete to be recognized tonight is Kirk Garver Aguirre. Aguirre was named an All-State guard on the 1976 state championship football team under Tony Klanakis and followed with a state wrestling title in the winter. Aguirre, who was named the co-most outstanding athlete of the year with Brett Sorensen in 1977, also competed in the pole vault where he finished second in the state. In 1975, as a sophomore, Aguirre finished fourth in the pole vault at state and followed up with a third place finish as a junior. He finished second in state at 177 pounds in wrestling as a junior before winning it all as a senior. Aguirre continued his wrestling career at Linfield College in McMinnville, Oregon, and won the Pacific Northwest NAIA Conference Tournament in 1978. Will you please welcome to the stage, Kurt Garver Aguirre. Our next athlete is Amanda Camacho. One of the best athletes in her decade, Camacho collected 10 varsity letters, including 4 with the Hall of Fame inducted volleyball team during its back-to-back state championship run in 1999 and 2000. Camacho lettered 3 times in basketball and softball, garnering most of her accolades on the diamond. She was named a first-team All-League outfielder during her last 2 seasons with the Greenwave, who competed in the 4A. Camacho helped run the floor during the basketball season under Shell DeLager as the Lady Wave punched their only ticket to the 4A state tournament in 2003. Camacho, who was a co-valedictorian, attended Lassen Community College and was a 2-year starter on the basketball team, earning all-league recognition as a sophomore. Will you please welcome to the stage, Amanda Camacho. Our next athlete is Rachel Casey Payne. One of the best softball players in school history, Payne holds career records in games played, 99, at-bats, 322, strikeouts, 41, on base, 176, and innings played, 651 during the 1989 to 1992 seasons when Fallon competed in the 4A. She garnered many awards during her time with the Greenwave, including being named a first-team All-State first baseman and leading the team in many offensive categories. Payne continued her softball career at Columbia College in Missouri, playing in the NAIA College World Series from 1993 to 1996. She ended her career being named to the All-Conference team for both athletics and academics, and she's also a member of the 300 batting average club. Will you please welcome to the stage, Rachel Casey Payne. Our next athlete is Earl Dagey. A first-team All-State selection in basketball for 2 years, Dagey led the Greenwave to the regional and state championships in 1966 and regional championship in 1967. Dagey was also a first-team All-State defender on the football field, guiding Fallon to a regional championship in 66 and 67. In 1968, Dagey, who lettered in track, was named a Pepsi-Cola High School All-American honorable mention. In college, Dagey was awarded a full-ride basketball scholarship, but changed it the next year to compete in football, where he was named an all-conference defensive end at Montana Western. Will you please welcome to the stage, Earl Dagey. Our next athlete is Mike Evans. Evans was a 3-sport athlete participating in football, basketball, and baseball. He won 4 varsity letters each in football and basketball and 3 in baseball. He was named to the basketball All-State team in 1950, and he was named to the All-State second team for football in 1950 and 1951. Will you please welcome to the stage members of the Evans family. Our next athlete is Dale Jensen. Jensen played in 4 sports and earned 7 varsity letters, including 4 with the baseball team. He helped Greenwave win the state baseball championship in 1966 and was named an all-state catcher. On the football field, Jensen was an all-state running back and defensive linebacker during Fallon's Northern AA championship season. The Block F president during his senior year, Jensen gave back to the community after he graduated and served in the military, donating 25 years of service to youth baseball and softball and earning the Optimist Club Distinguished Service Award. Will you please welcome to the stage, Dale Jensen. Our next athlete is John Kitts. Kitts earned 7 varsity letters, including 3 in football and a pair each in basketball and baseball. Football, though, is where Kitts found his most success. He started for 3 years and was named the first-team All-Conference center during his last 2 years. He was also named first-team All-State center and second-team All-State defensive tackle during his senior season. He was one of 4 Nevadans to be named a Carnation All-American, which included future NFL player David Wyman. He was selected to the 1980s Northern Nevada All-Decade team before winning the school's Athlete of the Year award in 1982. Kitts was also an All-Conference and All-State baseball selection when Fallon moved up to the state's highest division, the AAA. Will you please welcome to the stage, John Kitts. Okay, now we're going to move to the class of 2021. And our final team to induct this evening is the 1975 girls golf team. Coached by Mark Winans, the Lady Wave finished 8-1 and sent 6 golfers to the AA state tournament. During the championship, Fallon finished with a team score of 578 compared to 615 by Lowry, which handed Fallon its only loss during the regular season. During the season, Fallon defeated Lowry, Yarrington, Carson, and Douglas, and facing off against Lowry and Douglas in the state AA championship. Ellen Townsend led the way with a 48-stroke performance, followed by Patty Regan, who fired a 49. Sue Weller scored a 51. Vicki Dimmitt shot a 54. And Kim Bug.
I paid him.
Wow. Kim Bug and Jeanette Fallis rounded out the team scoring. A popular sport on campus, the team also included Peggy Burney, Annette Gosnell, Lynette Lee, Becky Paul, Janie Salegi, and Terry Salegi. Accepting for Janie and Terry will be Carla Kent. And will you please welcome to the stage members from the 1975 State Championship Girls Golf Team. That's great too.
We were there for moral support.
Yes, Carl.
I know. She doesn't care longer than me because she's taking out the time.
Because this was so funny.
You get to go up next. I think. I'm having a good time seeing all you kids.
Moving on to the coaches, our last coach to be inducted tonight is Earl Wilkins. Known as the father of Greenwave wrestling, Wilkins established wrestling at the high school in the early 1970s, coaching Fallon until 1980, when he became an assistant coach under Dan Peters. Under Wilkins' leadership, the Greenwave posted winning records in league competition and produced several exceptional wrestlers, including Guy Riley, brothers Ross and Kirk Aguirre, and Randy Kirby. After his passing, the Earl Wilkins Memorial Tournament was born and has been labeled as the region's kickoff to the wrestling season in early December. Will you please welcome to the stage daughter Gretchen Wilkins and family.
Thank you guys for all that you've ever done. I miss my dad more than like anything in the entire world. But I have to tell you, I can say one thing, that he shot his biggest buck before he got cancer in the Santa Rosa Mountains. And my husband and I have both shot our biggest bucks in the Santa Rosa Mountains too. And they are all mounted in our house and up in northern Idaho, where we live now.
Our next contributor is Fred Olson. Over a 2-decade span, Olson led the Fallon Band during his time, which included the Greenwave Marching Band, Concert Band, and Pop Band. Under his guidance, the Greenwave Band program grew from 20 students to more than 100 students in a short span. The Greenwave Marching Band performed during the East-West Shrine Game and participated in the Disneyland Parade. Will you please welcome to the stage Fred Olson's wife, Cheryl Olson. Our final contributor to be inducted, or I should say contributors in the category, to be inducted is the Churchill County Museum Research Team. A daunting task of collecting information on Fallon sports several years ago, this research team unearthed decades of sports information to help start the Greenwave Hall of Fame, which inducted its first class in 2017. For 1957 grad Dave Loomis, 1971 grad Yvonne Arsenaga Sutherland, 1959 grad Nancy Sanders Stewart, and museum research specialist Buddy Corkill, it was as if the past had been rediscovered and a portal unlocked to the original glory days. The team presented research to the Hall of Fame 5 years ago. This research dated back to the origins of Fallon athletics more than a century ago. Will you please welcome to the stage Nancy Stewart, Bunny Corkill, Julie Richards, accepting for Yvonne Sutherland, and Sherry Jensen, accepting for Dave Loomis. And trust me, they did a ton of work. That is some investigation going on there. Our first athlete for the 2021 class is Joe DeBraga. A late bloomer, DeBraga didn't begin playing the sport that would carry him into college until his junior year of high school. After shining in the rodeo arena, where he won a state championship in team roping and setting school records in long and high jumps, DeBraga focused on basketball during his last 2 years, taking advantage of his 6'7" frame. He played center for the Greenwave and earned a scholarship to Western Montana College. DeBraga returned home, sort of, when he joined the Nevada Wolfpack and played 2 seasons for Sonny Allen. He was the first forward off the bench for the 1981-82 Wolfpack when he played over 300 minutes. Will you please welcome to the stage Angela DeBraga, accepting for Joe DeBraga. Our next athlete is Trevor DeBraga. Competing in the state's largest class, DeBraga started football, wrestling, and baseball, earning regional and state recognition. He was an all-league running back, linebacker, and punter during the fall, and all-league third baseman during his last 2 seasons on the Diamond. But the wrestling mat is where DeBraga shined the brightest. DeBraga won 3 regional titles and 1 state crown, placing second twice. He was named the 4A's Middleweight Wrestler of the Year and helped guide Fallon to 2 back-to-back team regional championships and 3 academic state team championships from 2005 to 2007. DeBraga continued his career in football and wrestling at Sioux Falls before transferring to Colorado Mesa, where he played at Colorado Mesa alongside his brother Trent. Will you please welcome to the stage Trevor DeBraga. Our next athlete is Charles Hall. Known as the Mr. Basketball King in the region, Hall was a force on the court, leading Fallon to a Northern AA championship under Whit King. He was an all-state selection after leading Fallon in rebounding for 2 seasons. He also played football and baseball and was on the receiving end of the game-winning touchdown pass from Jack Beach in the state championship against Boulder City. Hall continued his career at Montana Western, where he averaged 15 points and 14 rebounds per game before being inducted into his college's Athletics of Hall of Fame. Hall was also drafted by the Chicago Bulls in the 16th round of the 1972 NBA draft. Unfortunately, Charlie passed away this last year. Will you please welcome to the stage Gary Imelli and Jim McKinnon, accepting for Charlie Hall. Our next athlete is Margaret Oates Davis. Before the days of Title IX, only basketball was recognized as a sports activity available to girls. Davis was an outstanding member of the 1953-1954 basketball teams, which finished undefeated. She contributed to the success of the 1955 and 1956 teams and served for 4 years with the Girls Athletic Association, including stints as vice president and president. A 4-year letter winner, Davis was also a member of the Tri-S, an organization that exemplified school spirit in service, sportsmanship, and spirit. Davis participated for 4 years in the high school band and served as president of the executive committee. Will you please welcome to the stage Margaret Oates Bates. Our next athlete is Jeff Peel. Decorated wrestler with the Greenwave, Peel was named the most valuable wrestler during his senior year when Fallon won the 3A Northern Region title. Wrestling with cracked ribs, he placed second in the state championship tournament in Las Vegas and was recognized with most pins during the season. On the gridiron, Peel was outstanding at running back and linebacker, earning Offensive Player of the Year and Most Valuable Player of the Year during the 1982 season. He was also named the most outstanding athlete of his graduating class. Peel ended his time as a Greenwave by representing the school in the annual Sertoma Classic, a football all-star game played at Mackey Stadium. Will you please welcome to the stage, Jeff Peel. Our final inductee of the night is Megan Rose, a three-sport star who was also the first girl Block F president. Rose's love was on the track, where she competed for 4 years that yielded multiple regional and state championships. During her senior year, she won 3 state titles in the 400 meters, 200 meters, and the long jump. She also broke the school records in the 400 and 200. In volleyball, Rose was a first-team selection for the conference during her junior season. She helped Fallon upset favorite McQueen on its way to a second-place finish in the regional tournament during her senior year. In basketball, during her freshman year, she led Fallon to a second-place finish at state and was an all-league selection as a senior. Rose earned multiple All-American honors when competing for Ricks College track and field team. Will you please welcome to the stage, Megan Rose. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please give all of our new inductees one more round of applause? I want to again congratulate all our inductees for their accomplishments in Greenwave sports. This is an amazing class, and we cannot wait to do this again next year. I want to thank the Greenwave Hall of Fame Committee and many volunteers for putting together this great event. I also want to thank Ellen Townsend for visiting and speaking with us this evening. And before heading out, we got a few things we want to go over with you. First of all, we'd like the inductees to come back to the stage for a group photo when we're completely done with the program. We'd like to invite everyone to please nominate worthy individuals for the Hall of Fame. The committee relies on the public to nominate individuals. There are cards on your table with information on accessing the website for nominating. Please take them and feel free to get them out to people you know who may want to nominate themselves or others. Check out your raffle tickets before leaving tonight. Winning tickets are posted outside on the raffle table. And lastly, well, yeah. Patience. Oh, I should have had this ready already. I hope this works. Bear with me.
Come on, Randy.
Told you I'm not attending, right?
Come on, come on.
I know, right?
You do.
Do it alone.
On the back of the program are the lyrics to Onward Greenwave. Let's do it. Thank you again, everybody, for tonight. Have a great evening. Please drive safe. And inductees, please come forward so we can get that group photo. Thank you. And you can take the balloons. They're free.
No, but I want to see, I just got to see Richard. Just one
You know what? Still is shit.
I remember you when you were. Oh my God.
Gotta hang tough for a little more,
Oh, let's continue to face it. Oh, I'm so
I don't know. I just think it's up here. It was from an old restaurant. I remember that. But I don't remember what it was.
Okay, do we have all the inductees up here to the stage so we can get that group photo? Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. How fun.